emergency. Paging Dr. B.
Doctor, give me the news.
Welcome to A Third Opinion with Paul Rodgers and Bob Weldon. Here's the truth about the latest wellness findings in medical news, options and protocols you might not know about. These guys lay it out for you. Straightforward information important to you. And you can always be a part of the show. Call now, 407-774-8255. 407-774-TALK. It's time to get A Third Opinion on News Talk 660 WORL. Here's Paul and Bob.
And welcome to A Third Opinion. It's a beautiful day in Orlando, Florida, a Saturday morning. Statements made on our program have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Paul Rodgers. A Third Opinion, a program that is dedicated to providing our listeners with an opportunity to discuss that which has been previously undiscussable. We'll talk about many things, including regulatory agencies that approve drugs that sometimes kill people, and then spend the rest of their time chasing down natural products and nutritional supplements that have never killed or even damaged anyone. And we just simply can't figure that out. My co-host is Bob Weldon. Bob, I'm glad to see you every Saturday morning and try to bring this information to people who are crying for it and sometimes don't know where to find it. Welcome.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Orlando. And we have a really exciting topic today. We're going to be talking about detox strategies and what that means.
And that has nothing to do with going to the Betty Ford Clinic, and I'm not trying to be funny. That's not what this is about. Detox is about heavy metal toxification that you find, our listeners, me, Bob, find in our bodies every day as a result of being bombarded by the bad stuff that's out there, they are referred to as free radicals.
Exactly. And, in the practice where I work, of course, this is our first stage of any type of treatment that we do with Dr. Zellner.
So you do a detoxification,
yes, in fact,
study on a person,
well, there's
on a patient?
There's several testing, but, most people, Paul, have a misunderstanding of what this means. When they
what is it? When
they
detox?
hear a doctor or they go to a health food store, there's rows and rows of detoxification cleanses. And people are confused, I think, a little bit about what that means. And we're going to kind of unravel that. But
sure.
I think before we get into the detox subject itself and some of the protocols and things that people should be looking for, I think we should talk a little bit about why is this in the integrative world. And we talk often about integrative medicine, which the doctor I work for, as everyone knows, Dr. Zellner in South Orlando.
And integrative medicine, an integrative medical practitioner being a person who uses their classic traditional medical school training and integrates into that nutritional and other types of natural supplements on the food side of things,
right,
and blends those two practices together to do a better job, frankly, for their patients.
That's exactly what it is, and
right.
It's important. Some people call it complementary medicine or alternative, which I don't really like that term, but people can relate to that word. It's not really an alternative because we do incorporate things that you would find not in your traditional medical practice, not that there's anything wrong with it, but everybody knows there's problems with the traditional model, the insurance base of managed care. We're going to be talking about that in future shows and some of the issues. It's not the issues with the doctors because they're hamstrung by insurance companies, by FDA regulations and things that really prohibit us as the general public of getting the best possible health care in the 21st century with things that are proven by mainstream science that
It's a frustrating thing, Bob, when we talk about this every week, and it's very, very frustrating to think that you could go to your doctor and he would discuss whatever your malady was or your problem was, come to some conclusions, you have a great conversation with him, your doctor's a great fella or lady. At the end of the conversation, you could say to the doctor when he's made his recommendation, is that all that I can do? And the doctor could conceivably say to you, no, there are other things, but I'm not allowed to tell you about them. Now, you think about that.
Yeah.
There are other things you could do, but I, your physician, am not allowed to tell you about them. That's baloney.
Right. And the thing is I think people, we've talked about this on previous shows, and we'll continue to talk about, the things like Dr. Oz and Dr. McCullough, who has probably the number one website in the world for evidence-based supplementation and some other things. Life Extension Foundation, we're big fans. We're both members of that. We'll talk about some of the things they're putting forth for people, the general public, to know about, so that you have you could get a third opinion. Thus, the theme of our show.
Correct.
you go to one or two doctors, you've had some serious condition, and let's get a third opinion. Let's look outside the traditional medical model, and let's look at integrative medicine. What can you add to this protocol that will facilitate its effectiveness, lessen the side effects if it's chemo or whatever, and have me as a patient who I'm in charge of my own health, have me have the best possible outcome.
You think you are.
Well,
yeah, you think you are.
And we're going to talk about some controversial things, I know, because we want to stir the consciousness of our community here to take a look at these things and at least make them available for the general public to make an educated, informed decision, right?
And isn't that what it's all about, Bob? Let's bring this information wide open. Here's all the information, and we will never on our program ever talk about things that are not, if this is a word, substantiatable. We're not talking about unresearched stuff. We're not talking about snake oil. None of that stuff gets into this program. The things that we talk about are proven protocols and remedies
that medical doctors are using.
That medical doctors are using,
okay.
and frankly, sometimes set themselves at risk and get in trouble for using. It's insane.
So we're going to be their voice, and we're going to be the voice for the general population that will take this to heart, listen to this. We're going to have a very special guest on in our second hour, Dr. Alan Greenberg. He's out of Baltimore. He's a retired neurologist, but he's an expert in this subject of toxic metals and how we remove them from the body. But before we get to him, we want to kind of set the table on this subject of detox. What does that mean? And why does every integrative or alternative or complementary physician, whatever you want to call them, when you go there to their practice as a new patient, I would guarantee you almost 100% of those physicians, that's the first thing they start with their patients. Why is that a need to do that? And we can look at some things that I think, as we'll talk about in this program, that people will relate to when we kind of lay it out for them. I mean, everybody knows this stuff. Basically, if you watch the news, if you live on the planet Earth, you already know some of the things we're going to bring are almost like, wait a minute, that's right.
You're aware of it, but you may not have the in-depth or even a slightly in-depth bit of information that you might need, you, our listeners, to have you make that next step and say, yes, I'm going to look into that.
Yes, and the magnitude of the problem is something people just, if they think about it, they're kind of, their eyes roll back in their head because it is a big problem. Toxins in our environment can be traced to just about every condition we know. Now, that's a broad statement, but I didn't make that statement. That was made back in 1974 by the World Health Organization. You can look that up on the Internet.
Dr. Zellner quoted a statistic the last time, 2 weeks ago. Dr. Zellner was our medical specialist guest of the day. She quoted a statistic of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of toxins.
Well, 80,000 new ones.
Thousands of them. 80,000 new toxic type materials that have been introduced
into our environment by technology, by advancements that we've made.
Sure,
we don't think about, oftentimes we don't think about the pollutants and the toxins that are put back into our environment from some of these advances that are made. Now, we know about plasticizers,
well, that's
BPA.
The yang of the yin. There's a good and a bad in everything.
We like the modern conveniences, but we don't think about what we've put into the environment and thus into ourselves and what health ramifications that have for the human being. So let's discuss that. Let's look at that. As I mentioned, the World Health Organization said back in 1974 that 82%, this is their conclusion, in 74, mind you, 82% of chronic disease can be traced to toxins and especially toxic metals in our environment. Now, that's back in 74. Do we have a few more toxins, you think?
You know what? Let's just level it off at 82% and slap our heads and say, you got to be kidding. 82%.
Right. And
82% caused by the toxins that are in our environment. And they knew that 40 years ago, and we're still not allowed to talk about this?
Well, we're going to talk about it.
And insurance companies won't cover some of these treatments?
Well, it's not just that.
It's awful.
It's because to them it's not standard of care. It's not proven science, right?
Phooey. It is standard of care.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is it's preventive.
So, I mean, when you think about detoxification, we want to talk about what is the importance of it and how can that improve your health. And that's why I back up. Dr. Buttar wrote an excellent book, and hopefully we're going to have him on one of our future shows.
It'd be terrific.
He wrote a book called The 9 Steps to Keep the doctor away. 9 steps to keep the doctor away. He's up in North Carolina. He's an MD. Actually, he's a DO, and which is just as good as an MD if you know anything about the credentialing of physicians. But anyway, he talks in his book. I love this, and I'm going to borrow this from him. It's really good. Here's the analogy. This is how, if you were to come home to your house and it smelled really foul, the garbage was left in the house for weeks on end, you weren't there, you came home, this foul smell is in your house, and you see flies swarming around in the kitchen, and here's what people would do. They would take spray and they would put some deodorize, some Febreze or some of those toxin chemicals in the air, right, to get rid of the smell. They'd open the windows and they'd try to kill the flies. That's what we're doing in traditional medicine. We're looking at all the effects. We're not getting to the cause. How about the first thing? Take the garbage out.
Go into the cellar and find the dead animal that's laying down there.
Or take the garbage out of the house,
and
right?
Use a number 2 shovel and put it up in a little bag, and out it goes.
That's it. So it's true. You want to get rid of the smell and you want to get rid of the flies, but the first thing you would do
that's the second thing you do
is take the garbage out of the house, get it out of the house to eliminate. So it's the same thing in medicine. Let's not just look at the effects, the symptoms. Those are important because they direct us to the cause. Let's get right to the cause and remove, if possible, the cause of those symptoms or effects, right? And that's what we do in integrative medicine.
Nothing that you have described, Bob, is a mystery. Why is this a mystery?
Yes.
It's
common sense.
We talk about this every week. We talk about this when we're together planning to talk about this, and I keep slapping my head. There's so much common sense involved in all of this. If you find something that works, and it's not something that's also going to kill you, but it works, don't you think we all ought to know about that?
We
Particularly
should.
where your health is concerned, we should all know about that.
As I've mentioned to you too, Paul, in the practice, patients are coming in very well informed nowadays. They're coming in because of the internet and these TV shows, and they're reading the books. They're coming in charge of their health, and they're empowered. They just need the practitioner to facilitate what needs to be done, to work with them. And that's what an integrative doctor does. They work with their patient, look at the cause, and deal with the cause, and the patient participates more. That's why we have patients come in on a daily basis.
Well, when you are working with a doctor, you just formed a team, and you're one of the most important members of the team. Early on, the doctor's
the boss.
Early on, the doctor's more important. After the fact, you're more important, but it's still a team. It's a great subjects that we talk about every week here on A Third Opinion. I'm Paul Rodgers. My co-host is Bob Weldon. We're coming up on a little bit of a break, and we will be back with more in a couple of minutes. Stand by. And welcome back to A Third Opinion. I'm Paul Rodgers. Bob Weldon is my co-host. We're here every Saturday on WORL 660 AM, 10 to noon, and we're here to inform you about a lot of stuff that we bet you haven't heard about. Or if you have, you've thought about it, and doggone it, and you're not happy. If you'd like to weigh in with your thoughts and opinions, we'd like to hear from you. Our phone number is 407-774-8255, 407-774-8255. Bob, what is detox?
Well, detox, let me just define detox.
And again, not the Betty Ford Clinic kind of detox.
No, although
this is stuff that we all should be talking about.
Although they may incorporate some of these procedures.
Perhaps.
I don't know. I've never been there. But
thankfully.
Here's what detoxification does. It's really important for your health. Your body detoxes itself all the time. We have detoxification mechanisms throughout our body at the cellular level. Most people think of detox, the liver's involved with detoxification. Some people even talk about detoxing in a spiritual sense. So it's a wide range of topics, but in the medical field primarily, what we're looking at is xenobiotics and endobiotics. Now, xenobiotics are just foreign pollutants that are coming to the body through air, through our skin, through our eating, our drinking, and so on. People can relate to that. If you're a toll booth operator, you're breathing in all those fumes every day. If you're a cigarette smoker, you're bringing toxins. So the list is endless of toxins,
stuff.
right?
Bad stuff.
But here's the thing. Our bodies are designed to deal with it because we live in an environment where we not only take in toxins, but our body produces toxins by metabolic processes in the body. So the liver is our main detoxification organ. It filters our blood and it eliminates, has a phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 aspect of detoxification the body goes through all the time. The idea is that we take nutrition in that supplies the ingredients to function, have the body function correctly so that the detoxification mechanisms are absolutely at their optimal level. But when you overload the body with toxins, which is what our environment is doing through our dental amalgams,
through daily living, medications, excess estrogens in the body that are produced in the body. The list is endless. I don't want to bore the audience with all the details. But here's some of the things detoxifying. Once the body becomes overloaded, then this is when the symptoms start to develop of fatigue, of not your immunity being compromised, your GI tract, your gastrointestinal tract not functioning correctly because the body is just overloaded. Gaining weight, obviously in our weight loss class that we teach that the body will make a fat cell. The liver will make a fat cell if it cannot keep up with the amount of toxins. It will make a fat cell to put toxins in to store for later. I was going to say, it's making the fat cells, put the toxins in it, and puts it over there and says, I'm too busy with this other stuff, but I will get to you soon. The problem is it never gets a chance to get to it because you're constantly bombarded with this bad stuff that isn't supposed to be.
That's right. That's right. And so this is why an integrative doctor like Dr. Zellner and others that we'll be having on our program in the future, this is why they start with a cleanse or a detox system. Everybody has a little bit different way of doing it.
Very, very interesting. This is your starting point. So if a patient came in to see Dr. Zellner, who is a magnificent integrative gynecologist, practices here in Orlando, neat lady, brilliant lady, wonderful doctor, this is where you would start with a patient.
Exactly.
To do this examination to see where they are from a toxification point of view.
And let me just give you some of the bullet points of why we do that. Here's some of the things a patient can expect to see. You speed your healing process, of course. Enhance your immune system. Your immune system can be boosted by doing that. Your energy. Everybody's tired and fatigued. Well, we always look at detoxification because the body is burdened. Fatigue is a number one symptom of that.
Right.
It makes room for more nutrient absorption in the body. Improves your liver function, and that's a key to fighting cancer, by the way. Cleanses the blood, improves your circulation, and removes toxins from the body that could cause cancer because these are xenobiotics. These are things that are foreign to the body that can disrupt DNA function, disrupt mitochondrial, your energy plant function in the body. This is where the fatigue comes from. So people are taking antioxidants. That's a great thing, and we use a lot of antioxidants in our practice, and we've talked many hours on this program about the use of the Nature's Pearl.
The Nature's Pearl product,
because it has a lot of antioxidants and a food source. So, cleansing is so vital to get a good clean slate so that the doctor can perform other things that the body will respond to quickly, opposed to dealing with all these hurdles. So again, it's back to the analogy. Take out the garbage and then deal with the symptoms of having garbage in the body. Clean up the rest of the body.
Are there foods that are contributory to toxification and or inflammation? Two questions. Toxification and inflammation are kind of cohorts on the bad boy side, right?
That's correct.
They're kind of pals.
Yes.
And one leads to the other. So are there foods that we eat in our daily diets that are really contributory to that? For example,
yes.
give me a couple of ideas.
Processed, of course. Processed foods obviously are nutrient depleted. There's additives in them. That certainly gives us issues in our body. How about even fruits and vegetables? It's difficult for people to eat organic. It really is. It's expensive if you don't grow your own. But let's say you just get your regular produce from the grocery store. Well, pesticides. We're ingesting pesticides at an alarming rate. Those are xenobiotics. They basically are toxins, poisons to the body that must be removed.
So if you were growing your own tomatoes, for example, they would not have that stuff on them unless you sprayed them profusely.
If you're growing organic, you're not using pesticides, right? You're not using those things. And we know, again, back to the Nature's Pearl, you and I have been to the vineyards there. We know that those no fungicides, no pesticides. They're
untouched by human hands, I like to say.
So they're really, I guess you could say those are organically grown up there in North Carolina. So, yes, foods are very
processed
important.
foods, heavy in sugars, heavy in starches, where all the good stuff has been removed in the processing. Well, Bob, that's almost all the food.
Well, it is. So
a whole lot of it.
So when we start talking about toxins, Paul, people are going to get a little overwhelmed. Well, what am I supposed to do? Well, what you do is you have to counteract the things you cannot control. Now, we talk often on our show, look at your personal environment. We have a book that we've promoted here before. It's called From the Toxic Free Foundation. It's it's like a little Bible, if you would, of toxins that are in our products, our cleaning supplies.
Right.
Excuse me. Why can't you eliminate those? You can. There's alternatives to those. Dr. Zeller mentioned when she was on the show that she went through her house and took out, just out of a couple of bathrooms, 2 huge garbage bags after she had this book and went through it. Now, this is an integrative doctor,
right?
And cleaned out her toxins in her personal care products.
Can't have this.
You can't.
Can't have this.
So we can minimize the effects on our body. We can't get off the planet. Okay, we have to walk out the door. We have to drive cars. We have to be close to someone occasionally that gets secondhand smoke from. Unfortunately, these are all toxins that build up on our bodies, and they cause major disruptions at the cellular level.
So you can't stop it all. We're going to be bombarded by all of this. We recognize that. But there are things we can do, and the thing number one is start paying attention to this, because I can hear my liver saying, "Will you please stop? Stop with this. Will you please stop? I'm too busy." and B, and in a little while, I'm going to submit my letter of resignation.
I like that.
And you're not going to be in
you're
very
not going to feel too
shape.
good. Yeah, that's correct.
So let's give ourselves, and it's selfish. All the things we do along these lines, we do for ourselves, and then also for our loved ones.
Yeah, we want to have a healthy life.
Yeah, it's really important.
As much as we can.
And again, we can't leave the planet, but there are some things we can do. That's the purpose of our program, A Third Opinion. The problem is under the category of things we can do are things that a lot of folks don't want you to know you can do. And we will be talking about that when we come back after the break. You're listening to A Third Opinion on WORL. And welcome back to A Third Opinion. We just had a producer exchange. First time in the history of the program. We opened with Pete Paquette producing, and Jim Turner, who is our regular Saturday morning producer, is back. Jim, welcome back. You've been traveling, I understand.
Yes, I was doing what I can't hear you if you're saying anything because I don't have my headphones on. But I was doing what Rick Nelson did.
A traveling man. Well, we'll talk with you in a little bit, Jim. Thanks, and welcome back. Welcome to A Third Opinion. We're glad you joined us on this Saturday morning on WORL. Statements on our program have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our listeners ask us exactly who is offering the third opinion that you talk about. Well, we think it's either the members of our medical panels, medical specialists and so forth, guests on our show, or it's you, our listeners. Do you think you'd be advantaged if you knew more about the many complementary medical protocols and procedures that are available today? Do you know about them? Do you wonder why you haven't heard much about them? Well, that's our job. Bob Weldon is my co-host and broadcast partner. Bob, we're here to talk today about detox, and we have been talking about it.
Great subject. And people wonder, well, okay, you've kind of outlined some of the problems, and it makes sense. We've got toxins, chemicals, medications, and pollutants all around us. And let's just suppose that I buy into that, which I think most people do, of course. How do I get rid of those? What do you actually do? Well, there are several protocols that we use at Dr. Zellner's office, but every practitioner might have a little different twist or a little different way of doing it. They all accomplish the same goal. That's to cleanse, to mobilize toxins. Now, in our next hour, as we mentioned, we're going to have Dr. Alan Greenberg on. He is a retired neurologist. He's got lots of credentials. I've worked with him for the last 15 years on toxic metals. We actually use his protocol in our practice to remove mercury, lead, arsenic, and down the list goes, of heavy metals that cause really terrible health conditions for people. And he's going to really go into that in depth. We'll have a little interview with him around the 11 o'clock hour. And if you have any questions, we encourage you to call in because Dr. Greenberg will also try to answer your questions. And our number is 407-774-8255. 888-203-8255.
And you could call now if you want to talk to Bob
Sure.
and I, or we'd love to hear from you, especially if you have some thoughts about why you might be in need of some of these services.
Or maybe you've had some experience with detoxification,
Sure,
and you can share that
great.
with our listening audience, because I think a lot of people, colonics is hydrotherapy is one thing that we recommend. Now, we don't do that in our practice. We actually refer those out to Lucy Westerfeld. She's, if you'll hand me that over there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just want to give her a little plug, because she's also, she works in another integrative practice. She has her practice within a practice over here at Dr. Kalidas' office. And she does colon hydrotherapy. She's probably the best in town, most experienced. And a lot of people say, "Oh, colonics, I don't want to do this." But that is a good means of cleaning the colon and helping the body to detoxify. Because if your colon's not working right, if you're not eliminating regularly, toxins are reabsorbed. This is not. This is common sense. You don't need to be a scientist to figure that one out. If fecal matter is remaining in your digestive tract, your colon, for longer periods of time than your body's designed to do in the elimination process, you're going to reabsorb some of those toxins.
Here I go again, and it's not what you've just been talking about, Bob, is not the most pleasant topic in the world. And I say here I go again because I refer to my dad a lot. He was a doctor. And he was also a farmer and a country kind of guy. And Dad was very direct. He was one of those fellas that if you ask him a question, you must not be afraid of what the answer might be. He instructed myself and my brothers a lot and would say to me, "Now, son, if you starting to have some problems with your elimination, you need to make sure you take care of that, because that's poison. The body's trying to get rid of it, and it's poison. Don't suffer with that for very long. Get it taken care of." "Okay, Dad." Now you're 15 and you wonder what in the world he's talking about, and it's just not a problem. But he said it to me 15 or 20 times, and by the time I was 30, I said, I need to start paying attention to this. That's exactly what you're just referring to, Bob.
And again, when you come into an integrative practice, even though Dr. Zellner is
not the most pleasant topic in the world.
But everybody does it.
But it's important. Well, it's important.
You eat and you poop, okay? That's how we're designed.
I wish I had a drum roll there.
I know. And, it's funny because I often ask our patients as we start cleansing, I tell them I want them to call me back and give me a poop report. Oh. And they laugh because really, when you think about it, it's a natural function. Elimination is very, very important. And if you're not eliminating, a lot of people are constipated, and of course it's because of our diet and our general health, and our food supplies here are just not adequate. We don't eat enough fiber. You have to get the GI working correctly in any medical situation.
Yes.
If the GI is not working, the gastrointestinal tract is not working, if you're having heartburn, if you're having acid reflux, if your bile production is not correct, if your liver's not detoxifying, if you don't have enough enzymes, if you don't have enough good bacteria in the gut, these all play a role in detoxification. And if you're not eliminating regularly, you're going to have toxins build up in the body.
Wow, that's why it's important.
It's very important. So we get some patients that come in that have been, their normal bowel movements are maybe once or twice a week, and they think that's normal. When you're supposed to be doing twice or three times a day is the natural function. You eat, you poop. That's what a baby does, right? When you have a baby, they eat and they go to the bathroom.
We probably just chased away a whole bunch of listeners.
No, we didn't chase anybody away. We're just going to be honest with people here. That's what they have to do. So if they come in, they're really chronic, we like to refer them out to have colonics done. If you've never had it done, it's a very good cleansing. We're talking about detoxing and cleansing, and I just want to give her a shout out. She's really good. We've sent a lot of patients over to her, and just let me give her website. It's SIONE wellnesscenter.com. That's her website. Go learn about colonics on there. We're going to have her on a future show here, and she'll expound on the benefits of colon hydrotherapy, the health benefits.
And we apologize for anyone with tender ears because we weren't trying to offend. Maybe we should have had a disclaimer. The following program is recommended for mature audiences only. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to inform and educate, and it's all about your health. Again, the most selfish topic in the whole world is you taking care of yourself for your better health, and it's perfectly fine to be selfish in that regard.
That's right.
You have everybody's permission to do that, including the people around you that love you. So take care of yourself, and that's what we're talking about.
That's
things
right.
that you can do. And on our program, we're going to be touching on a weekly basis on a whole bunch of these things that are, I don't know, frowned upon by certain regulatory groups? Some of them are.
Could be.
You know, we talk, as I said opening the show, we talk about many things, including regulatory agencies that routinely approve drugs that are proven to kill people, after which, of course, they pull them off the market, and spend the rest of their time chasing down natural products and nutritional supplements that have never killed or even damaged anyone. And that makes me...
Well, we should be outraged at that.
Oh.
And I mean, can I point out a good thing you and I were talking about earlier? And I know we're going to have a future show on this, but just to give our listening audience a heads up on this, there is a video that you need to see.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up.
You can find it on Life Extensions Foundation's website. It's lef.org. lef.org.
I think it's 57 minutes long.
It's a great video. Watch it. We want you to sign up and register. Once you will after you watch this video. It's about the FDA. It's about the FDA. It's well produced. Gary Knowles a little bit behind the production. Life Extension Foundation, which is a leader in the nutritional functional medicine arena. They've done lots of research. Many people probably listening are members of Life Extension.
We are.
We're not being compensated for saying this because we believe in what they do.
Well, it's free to join.
It's free to join.
Have a nice
but go
day.
watch that video at lef.org. As soon as you pull that page up, it's on the very front page there. You'll see it. And they want you to go to a website called stopfda.org. You'll see that on there. I won't have to repeat that. Watch that 57 minutes and really find a quiet time. Take a little less than an hour out and watch this video. It is a eye-opener. Now, we're not, the FDA does serve a function. They do serve a function, but they're supposed to be protecting us. When you see what's going on with the FDA, you're going to become outraged, as we are, that this information needs to get out there. And these things that we're talking about, although the FDA doesn't prevent us from talking about them, there's things that they do prevent the general public from knowing that should fall into the category of freedom of speech. And we are intelligent. We are the masters of our own health, not the government. We are. So back to detox. We're going to get off on a rant here, I know. But detox, what we use at our practice, we're going to have a special guest on in the next couple of weeks, Brenda Watson. Brenda Watson owns Advanced Naturals. Now, many people have seen Brenda Watson on PBS. She's had many PBS shows. They are a specialty company for GI health. That's all they focus on. In detoxification, we use all their programs, their detox programs, their cleanses, like a yeast cleanse, a parasite cleanse, cleanses for the bowel. They're very gentle, they're very effective, and they're extremely clean products. That's why we use them. These are physician-only brands that we carry in our practice.
Correct.
Probiotics, we use their probiotics. They're very potent, very important for the GI. They help to detoxify. Good bacteria in the gut play a role in detoxification. So these are things that we use. We'll have her on as a guest. She's already committed to do that in a future show to come on and discuss this whole situation with GI health and how important it is to have a good functioning GI, liver, colon, and small intestine, stomach, the whole enchilada, as they would say, in order for the body to eliminate these toxins, because that is one of our major detox pathways. Now, we have lungs, we have skin, we have urine, okay? Those are some of our detoxification pathways. And so this is important for people to look at it. If you're fatigued, if you're not feeling well, think about detoxification.
It's a starting point. Going through that process with Dr. Zellner may lead to not only identifying the toxicity in your body and getting that corrected, but it might lead to some other types of situations that Dr. Zellner and many other integrative practitioners
and there are many here in the Orlando area. It's not just Dr. Zellner. Dr. Zellner's great. That's who I work for, obviously. I prefer Dr. Zellner. But listen, I've worked with many of the integrative practitioners here in my career in Orlando. We have some very fine medical doctors that are practicing integrative medicine that are using protocols that we're talking about here. And those are the doctors that you should get your third opinion from. That's exactly right. It's a fast-growing addition to many medical practices, thankfully, because it concentrates on products that are natural, supplements, etc., that we need to take into our bodies to help our autoimmune systems do the job that the autoimmune system was given us to do, which is battle, fight back, fight this stuff.
I don't know whether dinosaurs produced any toxins back in the days when Alley-Oop was walking around with a club.
Methane gas.
But probably did, but I don't know. But we do know that in 1974, the World Health Organization identified 80,000 new toxic stuffs that were in our atmosphere, in our food, in our liquids, all that stuff. You folks,
you got to help your body to defend itself.
You're fighting a battle, so get a good army and get busy, and that's what you'll find with integrative physicians. I'm Paul Rodgers. This is A Third Opinion. We'll be back. And welcome back to A Third Opinion, the open radio forum that benefits all who are searching for information about other treatment options that may be available to us as we fight against the diseases and maladies that affect us all. On A Third Opinion, perhaps for the first time, medical practitioners, patients, and prospective patients can join the conversation, and many of you will discover that traditional medicine is not the only available option. You will be pleased and very, very happy when you make that discovery. I'm Paul Rodgers. My co-host is Bob Weldon. We're here every Saturday morning from 10 to noon on 660 WORL. Proud to be here. And we've been discussing detox. And again, this isn't meant to be funny, but we're not talking about the Betty Ford Clinic type of detox. That's a different thing. They may, as Bob pointed out, use some of these same treatment protocols. But detox is something that everybody that we're talking to this morning, all of our listeners, need to be aware of, because you got tox and you need to get detox. No, you do.
I like that.
Well, it's free radicals.
You got tox.
Well, you got tox.
We should make a T-shirt of it.
Can there
got
be
tox?
Can there
detox?
Can there be detox unless there is first tox? I don't know.
Toxin. That's
we
good.
understand.
That's
our listeners are a lot smarter than we are.
I hope
they already
so.
figured that out, and some of them have tuned away now because they're very upset. These guys are clowns. Well, we're trying to keep this light, but at the same time let you know that it's serious business. And we're not presenting a whole bunch of phony stuff. That's not what we do. We're talking things that are sensible and proven. So, and we invite you to, if you don't believe us, you can look it up, as Casey Stengel used to say.
And you'll find a lot of information on the internet. People probably have looked at many programs, and we're not, we all have our, as I mentioned, most of the physicians here locally have their own sort of pet protocols they use because they get good results from.
Sure.
So there's not necessarily one better than the other, but the point is to detox. So again, just to reiterate what that means, we've talked about our environment, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on that because people get it. We live in a toxic, polluted earth. Unfortunately, that's what we've done to our planet, and we're exposed to those daily. But detox, what do we want to remove? Heavy metals, okay? Lead, arsenic. These have all been traced. Aluminum. People realize aluminum has been traced to Alzheimer's disease. That's not something I made up.
How do we ingest aluminum, Bob?
Well, you get aluminum. People used to cook with aluminum cookware. In fact, some people still to this day cook with aluminum cookware. Okay, so that's one way. You get some in your medications. You get some in your, here's one, your antiperspirant, your deodorants. Let me say it correctly, okay?
Antiperspirant.
If you go to the grocery store and try to find one that doesn't have the aluminum content, it's difficult. It's very difficult to find one.
So you're rubbing aluminum on your skin.
Of course. Now, if you do it once or twice, but when we talk about metals, and Dr. Greenberg, when he comes on the next segment, he'll talk about that, where we get some of these metals from. But these are things that you accumulate over a lifetime. We all have them. It's when they overload the detoxification system in the body that we start to see the effects of an accumulation of metals. A lot of it comes from dental work, the dental amalgams, the silver fillings we often refer to. Those are 50% mercury. Those are leaching into your body each and every day. And there's a big discussion. We're going to have a whole show about that as well with some biological dentists that will be here talking about that. We have several in our area here in Orlando that are mercury-free and that are anti-dental amalgams. But there's some other things that we look at. So metals, what we call POPs, those are persistent organic pollutants. Those are things we get from our plasticizers, the BPH that we get. You're supposed to get a BPH-free bottle if you're drinking out of those things. Phthalates, we could go on. The list is endless.
It goes on forever.
Things. And then if you look at what they do to the body, see, it's not a matter. These aren't inert ingredients. These are things that affect the human body when they're accumulated. They're not removed from the body or prevented from being in the body. Then you have yeast infections, you have mycoplasma, you have pathogens. These all have byproducts when you that they put off in the body. These toxins they produce in the body that we have to deal with. You can have even energetics. How about your cell phone? We've lots of discussion about cell phones with electromagnetic fields. Those are toxins. Those are disruptors in the body.
Bob, it's almost like everything. It's I don't want to bore people to death with going on and on and on.
No, but we want them to focus on. Yeah, this is an issue. I need to think about this. There is a lot of toxins. We don't walk out the door every day and think about this. But what can you do about it? We don't want to just lay out the problem. What can you do about it? That's the question we want people to think about. Find yourself either a good integrative practitioner, and I guarantee you they're going to start with a cleanse of some type, a detoxification of the body, a full body detoxification that will make you feel like $1 million. When you take out the garbage, your body's going to get back to homeostasis to some degree, and then you can start dealing with other issues in the body. But this is the first line therapy, if you would.
The starting point.
The starting point, because, when patients come into our practice, we look at the GI. Now, again, Dr. Zahner's a gynecologist, okay? So a lot of patients say, well, why are you working with GI? Well, we're a nutrition-based practice, integrative.
Right.
And we want to look at cleanses. We want to look at how the GI is functioning, because how can you absorb your nutrients if your GI is not working correctly? And we start with that. We cleanse. We repopulate the gut with good bacteria. We help if there's people who are on proton pump inhibitors. We try to get them off those where we can.
What is a proton pump inhibitor?
Anything people are taking for heartburn.
I see.
GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Okay, we try to work on getting that ameliorated, get that solved for patients, and then they're going to feel better right then and there. Of course, we have to work on diet. A lot of those things can be diet related. Hydrotherapy, as we mentioned before, colon therapy where we can, where the patient's willing to do that.
Sure.
That'll speed the process along. We have some oral things you can do for that as well. And we want patients to feel better in that regards. And then we can start building nutritional protocols that they'll actually benefit from because they're absorbing the nutrients that we're giving.
And again, we're discussing things, protocols, and procedures that you can do for yourself. These are things that you can do for yourself. First thing we need to do is get it identified, which begins with the detox program. Get it identified, and then you will be able to take this into your own hands and do a lot of things for yourself, some small lifestyle adjustments in addition to nutritional supplements, etc., and away you go.
And here's the thing everybody can do. They can do a little daily inventory. Just take one day out of your week. When you get up in the morning, start looking at we all have the same habits. We go do things, we get prepared to go, we brush our teeth, we wash our face, women put makeup on, some men, put things on their bodies. Look at what's in them. Read the labels. You take a shower, a hot shower. Most of our water is chlorinated, I would assume here. Mm-hmm. You're having chlorine gas produced by the heat and the chlorine that's in the water. You're breathing that in. How about just put a simple filter on your shower head? It doesn't have to be the whole house. Most people aren't drinking tap water. They're drinking bottled water of some type or filtered water.
Right.
Look at your water supply. That's a good thing to look at.
That's an interesting point you bring up, Bob. The question would be how many, if you have water that comes out of your refrigerator, that's filtered water, yes?
Yes.
How many people are using that as opposed to going to the tap? Just that.
Yes, and most people, Brita makes a ton of filters. They made a fortune making filters that go right on your faucet to drink. Or you can get sophisticated water filtration. You can get alkaline water machines. There's many ways to get good, clean water here in this country, particularly. We should look at our water source. And then go throughout your day. What are you eating? Keep a log. What are you eating? Where are you exposing yourself to toxins? Now, when you get out in traffic, you're obviously pretty much... you're pretty much at the whim of what oxygen's coming in your car, right? I mean, the air is coming in your car. You're going to get some fumes from the car. And again, are you around people that smoke? You're picking up secondhand smoke. How about get some new friends or that don't smoke, or stay away from them while they are smoking, because that is really, really bad for you.
And again, Bob, you're fond of saying we can't leave the planet, and we recognize that. But there are some very simple things that you can do to take care of yourself better.
And do a cleanse a couple times a year.
Our job on a third opinion is to tell you about these things, and again, many of which are being intentionally kept from you, which is horrendous, ridiculous, and unnecessary. This is a third opinion. I'm Paul Rodgers, and we'll be back after the break.